Hi, everyone. I'm Lydia, and this is our October meeting. Here are our two speakers, Abby Bryant and Peyton Cherry. Y'all can start now. Take it away. Take it away.
Can y'all hear us good? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Just yell a little bit louder.
All right, will do. Try. Well, I guess I'll start. My name's Abby. We both graduated in 2022, which feels like forever ago, and also like yesterday. Like I feel like I remember so many of y'all's faces, and y'all were like little baby SNDA members, and now y'all are seniors, and it's so weird to think that we're like in the real world. But anyway, we both graduated in 2022, and then I went to Tulane for my internship. I didn't do my master's. We were the last class that didn't have to do that. So I graduated in June from that, and now I work I passed my RD exam August 13th, I think. And then I started working for I guess you'd call it like a corporate wellness company called SB Wellness Group. It's actually based out of Baton Rouge, but I work from home, which is great. And our main client is Blue Cross, so I see a lot of their employees, and they have this like wellness program that they could be a part of, and it's this whole thing. But I really like it. I really like working from home. And it's really weird that like we're both already dietitians, but we're going to kind of go through like our time at LSU and then talk a little bit about like matching. I know it's a little bit different now for y'all. I don't know all the ins and outs of it as much anymore. And then we'll talk a little bit about our programs, and kind of what we do now. So Peyton, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Peyton. So of course, like Abby said, graduated May of 22. I did my internship at North Oaks. And I did end up pursuing my master's, which I'm still currently, doing. I graduate in December. So yeah, I took the RD exam in July. Passed that by the grace of God. And now I am still currently at North Oaks. I have a part-time position there. I'm in OB, L&D, the NICU and PEDS. So those are my floors that I cover. And then I also just kind of like, I help out with the other dietitians if they need, if they're super slammed, like I'll take other patients from different floors.
Yep. So I guess we'll start like talking a little bit about LSU. I know there's a few things that we were really thankful for that we didn't really realize how much good they were doing us until we were actually like not even necessarily in rotations. I mean, at that time too, but also like in, when studying for our exam and everything. So I'll like say a few things and then I'm sure Peyton's will be kind of the same. But my number one thing was Dore's classes, all of them in general. And I know it's a lot of work and she has y'all doing things that you probably are like, why are we doing this? But as y'all also probably know, she's the sweetest human ever and like is so willing to help you and like ask all the questions, do all the things, because honestly, like when I was studying for the RD exam, as much as like food service sucks for most people, like I knew so much already just from her. So like, keep any notes you have, any projects that you've done with her, all of that kind of stuff, because it's going to get you a very long way later in life. And you'll be very thankful that you don't have to like relearn a lot of it, because at least for us, like some classes when we were there, I know y'all have different teachers now and stuff, but some things like we didn't learn as well. And so then we had to kind of learn that as we went. But like food service rotations and all the things that we did with her were like a breeze because of her. So definitely don't take that for granted. Peyton, do you have like one specific thing?
Definitely keep your notes. Like you said, I mean, Dore's class just stood out to me the most while studying for the RD exam. I felt like everything was so drilled in my head from her classes that, the food service part of it, of studying, was just, like Abby said, kind of a breeze. So just hang in there and, it's for the long run.
Yeah. And 3025 too, I think we might have been the first class to have that class. I could be wrong about that, but that was like such a good prep. And I feel like Dr. McKinley like holds us to a higher standard than a lot of people do, because when you get into some of these programs and you meet some of these people, you're gonna like be like, why are they dressed like that? Why are they acting like that? Why are they talking like that? And like you don't realize how different people are until like you leave LSU, where everybody is so like disciplined in a certain way, and like you'll be 10 steps ahead of the game, and your directors will probably love you and your preceptors will appreciate it. And like there's just so many things that we learned in that class about like how to be in the real world, and just in dietetics in general, and like etiquette with things and that kind of stuff. It really prepares you. And like I didn't realize how much it did until, like I said, I met people from other places, and just like, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It was like kind of a culture shock. But preceptors definitely appreciated like the, you know, the background that I had with LSU. And I give a lot to that, to 3025, just because we learned, you know, a lot of the real world stuff. And I'm sure Peyton can attest to that too.
For sure. And I think something else we wanted to talk about is just like experience in general. So as y'all may know, I'm sure Dr. McKinley has told y'all plenty of times and just encourages y'all to get outside experience, outside of class. Whether, of course, like y'all are involved in SNDA, which is great. But then like volunteering or, you know, having a job that pertains to dietetics in some way. Just gaining that type of experience not only looks really great on your resume when trying to match, but just it just prepares you even more for an internship. So yeah, do you have anything to add to that,
Yeah,
Abby?
I would say so. Like when I was at LSU, I worked a couple different jobs. I feel like I had like we had COVID and all of that, kind of throw a wrench in things. So I was at a couple different places, but um, like one of them was the Aspen Clinic, which I don't know if y'all know what that is, but which is a little bit different than dietetics, looking back. But I did get a lot of like patient experience and just like learning how to talk to people, and like what, you know, buttons you can kind of push with people very easily, and ways to say things and ways to not. And I also worked at Our Lady of the Lake in Gonzales, as a patient dining associate, which Dr. McKinley told me when I got that job. She was like, it's going to be a good experience, but you're going to hate your life. And I did. I worked with a lot of different interesting people, but it was a smaller hospital. And I think honestly that helped a lot. I don't know if they still have that position or anything there with the dietitian. If it's still the same dietitian that was there when I was there, she's great. There's only one. It's a very small hospital. But I learned a lot about like going into patient rooms and working with nurses and other, you know, people on staff and that kind of thing. And just about like, you know, the different diets and stuff in general that they have in the hospital, and what the behind the scenes of that kind of looks like. So while it was like, you know, not my favorite job by any means, and I had to, you know, work long weekends and stuff, and I didn't love my life back then, I got so much experience from that. And I kind of got to shadow the dietitian there and all that stuff. So like any way that you can kind of get into like any clinical setting, or even food service setting, like if there's one area that you can kind of learn a lot about and get ahead with, I think that's, you know, really valuable, because when you go into different rotations, like you're going to be dealing with a lot of different people in a lot of different settings. And if you've already kind of had a little bit of exposure to that, I think that helps a lot too. And even if there's volunteer things, you know, even if it's just once or twice that you get to go to these places, you know, something's better than nothing for sure. And Peyton had a job at the, well, you can tell them about it.
Yeah. So well, first of all, okay, I started out in college working as a waitress, which is some food service experience. So if any of y'all do that, like don't, you know, discredit that. That's definitely food service experience. But I then started working at Pennington Biomedical, which I know Katie, do you still work there? Yeah. That's great experience working, you know, one-on-one with dietitians. You get to see the research process and, you know, talk with research participants, and it's food service experience, of course, too. You're preparing meals, weighing out meals in the metabolic kitchen. So that was really great. And then I also worked at this place called the Maples Institute. It was a facility for young girls ages 12 to 17 with mental health issues. A lot of them had eating disorders. So I got to see kind of that side of dietetics in a way, and just overall patient experience. Of course, it was a really hard population to work with. But like Abby was saying, being exposed to that type of, population or any type of population, just it prepares you to know how to talk with patients and just be able to adapt to where they're at, I suppose. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think another thing too, even if I don't know if all of y'all are from here, I'm sure some of y'all are from, all over the place, but like just having gone to school here the past 4 years, I'm sure you've learned about like the culture here and how attached people are to food and like certain foods and things like certain times of the year, Mardi Gras, all of that kind of stuff. And that's another thing that I like kind of took for granted. I was born and raised here, so was Peyton, but even if you weren't, like those are things to, pay attention to and like recognize, because I had actually most of my classmates were not from anywhere near here, like way up north, way east, way, whatever. They were from all over the place, and they didn't really know anything about the culture here, the food here, like how people are attached, to certain things here. They're just not willing to give up certain things. And that can kind of like push buttons really easily for people. And if you don't know how to navigate that conversation and like find other ways to do things with that, you can kind of piss people off pretty easily. So I would say that's another like big tip going into internship and rotations and that kind of thing, like just being aware of like what the culture is here and what foods are, kind of sometimes non-negotiable for people. And I know my rotation partner was from New York, I think, and she, I could tell lots of stories about her, but she was just very like didn't understand it. And so she would, tell people to do all kinds of things with their gumbo and this, and they would look at her like she's crazy. And they were like, well, I'm not going to listen to anything she says, because she obviously doesn't understand me and doesn't understand, how things are here. And she needs to go back to where she came from, kind of thing. And so I don't want y'all to be put in that position. So that's something that I tell people a lot, is like making sure that like you're fully immersed in, where you are, no matter if you're from here or not. Keeping that in mind when you're, talking to people and that kind of thing, and just being relatable, because that can kind of, like I said, push buttons pretty easily. And then what was the next thing we were talking about? Internship. Where do we go next? So we graduate, internship, matching. I know is a little different for y'all. But I would just say with that, like get ahead as much as you can, because you don't want to be a last minute person. I know Peyton can probably add a little bit more to that, but
for sure. The process is not like I remember being in y'all's position and thinking it was so daunting. And like Abby said, I don't know how it's different now, but if you do it far in advance and don't cram it in last second, then like it's really not that difficult of a process. It's you know what I mean? So as far as that, just like really do it ahead of time.
yeah.
And wait until, what is it, February 15th?
Oh my God. I don't know. It may be completely different for y'all now. I have no idea. But yeah, like recommendation letters, get them early, get all of your, because it's kind of exciting to do. I don't know if I'm just weird, but like I was kind of excited to get it all done. So like, and I know there's a lot of like pre-select stuff now too and whatever. So just, yeah, like stay on top of it for sure, because it really, like people like scared the heck out of us with it. And it really was not bad at all if you stay on top of it.
Right.
So after that, once you match, all of that good stuff, and then you start your internship, depending on where you go, you may be moving to a new city, which neither one of us really did. We both went home. But that, could be a whole thing in itself. But I guess I'll kind of talk about Tulane a little bit, and then Peyton can talk about North Oaks. Tulane was great. I don't know. I know Dr. McKinley said I don't think it's really anybody's first choice right now. But I loved it. Marsha is very old and very that was probably not the right word to use, but you know, she's been in it for forever and she's great. But you know, there's some things that kind of need to catch up with the times a little bit, but everything was great. Rotations were great. We got to see so many different places, and that's the great thing about having Marcia is that she knows so many people and is, you know, so like I feel like everybody in dietetics around here knows who she is and are very like willing to support Tulane. And so I had, you know, I was somewhere different every week to 2 weeks, which can be hard because it's kind of like starting a new job every 7 days, but it's exciting and you get to meet so many different people and so many different preceptors and you start to figure out who knows who and, you know, all that, how it goes down here. But it was a lot. But it's kind of the same thing like we said with Dicus. Like if you stay on top of it and you get all your stuff done and you don't wait till the last second, like it's really not that bad. And preceptors are willing to work with you and, you know, like you kind of get out of it what you put into it, essentially. We also have like, you know, I think Marcia has more contacts than we do weeks in the year with the internship. So you can kind of give your preference on things. And like, I know I really wanted private practice experience. So I spent like 3 weeks with a private practice dietitian, which was really cool. And so you really do have a lot of flexibility with it. And I think Peyton's was kind of the same way. Like if there was something they were interested in, they could kind of request things too.
Right. I couldn't, regarding North Oaks, like I couldn't say enough about it because I just had the best experience. It's a part-time internship for those who don't know that. So you only go 3 days a week, and then sometimes you're there for 4 days if you have class. We have class once a month, or I did have class once a month. But yeah, there's certain rotations that you, of course, have to do to meet the CRDNs, but you have a lot of spare time to be able to, you know, pick what you want, which is something I really, really loved about North Oaks. And then Leslie, the director, she is just amazing. And she really works with you as a person and what, you know, your goals are, what, you know, your aspirations are. And then she also, you know, considers your personal life. So like I said, I couldn't say enough about it. One thing with internships, I will say just keep an open mind about every rotation you go into. I will tell you right now, I never, ever in my life thought I'd be a clinical dietitian. And here I am. I went into it saying like, oh, like I'm going to hate it. Like I'm dreading it. And I ended up absolutely loving it. So really just, you know, keep an open mind about each rotation and go in with a good attitude and, you know, just be thankful for what the preceptors are doing. So yeah, I think that's all I have for that. Yeah. Y'all have any questions about the internship, like each of our internships? Go ahead. Like or do we want to wait for questions?
Doesn't matter to me. Does anybody have anything right now?
What's like for both of y'all schools, like the rotation that your school focused on like the most, I would say?
Tulane is like their focus, I guess, is community. So we did a lot of stuff like kind of one-off things. Like we did the Tulane culinary medicine rotation, which is kind of like it's this big kitchen and they have like community classes and they have like med students from Tulane actually are required to go to a couple like classes there, and it's a dietitian that runs it. Anyway, that's a whole different story. But like we did a lot of like kind of one-off like random community things, but things that you wouldn't really think like dietitians would be involved in and things that they've started and stuff like that. So we did a lot of community rotations, but of course clinical is kind of what you need the most hours in. So we did a lot of like inpatient, outpatient, kind of across the board with that. But yeah, community was our main focus.
Yeah. So MNT, medical nutrition therapy, was our main focus. But I mean, like Abby said, like you have to do community, you have to do food service. So you get, you know, everything. And then like with North Oaks, you get to choose a focus area for the rotations that you want to choose. So And then, like I said, Leslie is very flexible. We had someone in my internship class. She interned with the dietitian at LSU for like over 2 months because that's what she wants to do is be a sports dietitian. So she really kind of tailors, or you can kind of tailor the internship to what you want to focus on, which, like I said, I couldn't say enough about North Oaks. I had a great experience. So
Yeah. Yeah. And with that too, something else I forgot about is like, if you are not from here, even if you are from here and you want to go somewhere else, like a lot of times, not a lot of times, but like there are times when something comes up and like a preceptor has to cancel a week with you, or like you may just have a gap in your schedule or something like that. And so you can pick if you want to go back to somewhere you've already been, or if there's someone out of state that you know that you want to go do a rotation with for a week. Like I had a classmate who her dad was like in and out of the hospital, so she wanted to be home a lot, and she kind of like moved her schedule around to where I think she had like 3 weeks where she was back in, I think she's also from New York, and she did a rotation in New York for 3 weeks, which was like great for her. So you can do that too if you have breaks in your schedule, or even if you don't, because there's a lot of things that are just on there that you don't necessarily need, like if you've already met all of your hours for things. So you could be like, look, I'm really not interested in going to this place. Like I have this other thing lined up. Can I go here? And like normally, as long as you have all your hours met for like the specific areas, then you can kind of, move around as you want, which I really like too. So
that flexibility, I will say, is very specific to both of the internships that we did. We can't say that every internship is like that. I'm assuming that most of them are not. So I think we just got lucky, and
yeah.
I can say that every internship is going to allow you to be that flexible.
Yeah. Unless you do a distance program where obviously you're like, picking your own stuff. And one of our friends actually did that, and she ended up moving to a different state in the middle of hers and like was able to move it all around. So like that's really, if you need that much flexibility, then I would go that route. But yeah, I mean, it's all about like communication and, talking to your director and your preceptors and that kind of thing, because like those opportunities wouldn't have presented themselves if we hadn't spoken up and like asked them about it. And they're usually, at least with our two internships, pretty willing. But yeah, so all of that was great. And then we both graduated, studying for the RD exam. I'm trying to see how much time we have. I don't want to keep y'all forever, but we both used Gene Inman, which y'all will probably hear that word a million times between now and the time that you actually take the exam, because that I feel like is the main study thing that a lot of people use. And then Peyton used something else too.
Well, so originally I had bought All Access, and like a couple weeks, maybe just a week into studying it, I was like, this is not going to work for me. I need something else. So then I switched to Gene Inman. I still kind of looked at All Access, but really focused on Inman. And then we also used something called Pocket Prep. But I will say the material that you study really does make a difference. Several people that I know did not study Gene Inman, and they didn't pass on their first try. But it's just how you learn as an individual. So you have to keep that in mind as well. I know that's probably y'all are just focused on, getting through this year and getting into an internship, but just remember, it depends on how you learn. But we did really benefit from Inman.
Yeah. And I will say too, when you get to that point, like I have a lot of classmates, like honestly, probably half my class who like weren't from here and they moved back home, and they kind of just were like, oh, I'm going to take a few weeks off and then I'll start studying. And like, they still haven't, or they like kind of studied and they haven't taken their exam. And like, now they're just kind of working random jobs. And I'm like, okay, well, you kind of like spent a lot of time pursuing this. So I would say like start studying as soon as you can, like towards the end of your internship. And Pocket Prep was a big help too, because it's like on your phone. It's an app. And you can take quizzes and tests, and it'll kind of like save the questions you got right versus the questions you got wrong. And it always has an explanation on the right answer. And I mean, like we could have probably recited all 1,000 questions to you by the end of it. But that helped a ton. And it did, they have mock exams on there too, which kind of helps you to like, learn what the timing is and how long you take on things and all that kind of stuff. So that was super, super helpful. But yeah, Gene MM was the main one that us and a lot of our friends used too. And it breaks it up into like the 4 domains, and there's recordings that you listen to, and then they have the notes as well that you can kind of follow along with. And you'll hear more about that probably 10 times over when you get to that point. But just to let y'all know kind of what we used.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we both kind of told y'all about our jobs a little bit already. But is there any specific questions that y'all have about any part of the process or our jobs or anything specific that y'all kind of have? Did you have anything else, Peyton? Sorry, I kind of cut you off.
No, I don't think so. I mean, that was pretty much it. We could go on about the RD exam, but y'all are so far from that at this point that we'll just cut it off there.
Yeah. And honestly, everybody makes it seem like so scary, but if you like with this whole process, all the way from like right now at LSU, whether you're a freshman or a senior, like getting experience to DICUS to your internship, all of that, like all you have to do is like stay on top of it and be fully aware like of what's going on at all times, and like just be on your stuff and you'll be fine. Like we were both so scared of the RD exam, and we both passed with like flying colors, and like I don't even necessarily like say that that's from one specific thing, but I think it's just like being focused on like what the end goal is and keeping up with it and don't give up. And we've also had friends that haven't passed on their first try, and then, they reassess and move on, and then now they're fine. So definitely don't lose hope, especially when, you get into rotations and you're going to go in and be like, I don't know what's going on and I have no idea how I'm ever going to do this. And they're going to think I'm stupid. Like I thought that all the time, but like they don't, because they were all in your shoes at one point. And Peyton is a preceptor now, and she's like, I still don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I definitely it's a learning process. And even as a dietitian, like I said, I'm a preceptor now. I'm still like, okay, well, we'll figure this out together. So, but I did want to add, I just thought about, y'all are required to get your master's now. I'm sure y'all might be a little bit worried about how that's going to play out, or like doing, rotations as long, like with your master's work, like, is that going to be a lot? I think that's one of the things, I know that's one of the things I loved about North Oaks is that it's part-time, like I said. So I did have extra time to do my master's work. So that's always something to consider. I'm getting my master's through Fran U. I'm sure y'all have heard about it. They also have a DI. So yeah, if y'all have any questions about that, about my experience with that, can absolutely ask me, or if y'all have questions down the road, y'all can email us. I'm sure we'll give y'all our contact information, or I'll let Dr. McKinley give y'all our contact information.
And I know y'all's internship fair is next week. Go, even if you think you know where you want to go to it, because I promise your mind might change. It may not, but it may. Yeah. Any questions, anything before we go? Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we got to talk to y'all. And if y'all think of anything, just let us know. Dr. McKinley knows where to find us. But yeah, thanks for having us.
You guys are getting Amazon packages tomorrow.
Woo!
Thank y'all so much. Right. So I'm going to leave this on, and we'll switch over to this.
I know.
I Oh, wait, hold on.
It's just not stopping.
I guess I'll say I'm over here because that one's not.
Just yell up to that.
Okay. All right. That was Peyton and Abby, and then Allison's gonna send their emails in the follow-up email. And then we're having our merch sale. So Katie designed these. If you order right now through the 8th, you can get both for $40. Or if you decide to wait, then it's going to be $20 for the shirt and $30 for the sweatshirt. But please order them. Katie worked really hard on designing them.
Switch.
And then if you still haven't paid your membership dues, please do so.
There are a few that
There are a few that have not.
So yeah, just make sure to pay your membership dues. You can do cash, Venmo, check, whichever you prefer. And then for the sweatshirts also, on the link, whenever you press on it, it's going to ask how you like to pay. And then you can do that cash, check, Venmo, whichever you choose. Hazing training. A couple of y'all still haven't done this. It's due on November 1st. I have to tell the RSO that everyone did their training. So if you haven't done so, please send it the email.
If you don't do it,
If you don't do it, you're suspended from the club. All right, and then Abby, like Abby was talking about, we have our internship fair coming up. A picture right there. Abby's in it all the way to the side. But yeah, please stop by, meet all the directors. You never know what might come up out of this.
I confirmed Texas Women's today.
Was that the Denton one? Or
Houston.
And if you're like a junior or sophomore, you could still go.
Mm-hmm.
I went last year and it was a great experience. So
It's always good to show your face.
show some face. They'll remember.
I'll remember you, maybe.
They usually do.
Volunteer experience.
Okay.
Cameron, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, that's just the link to submit your hours. On the next slide, it has. So this is for the food pantry. It's on the first floor of the student union. And these are doing more.
Well, this one is, can I take over? Sorry. I totally bogarted your stuff. So the food from the champion status drive is still sitting in my office because I wasn't able to be in my office last week because we had AC issues. So I need students to help tomorrow to come get that out and bring it over anytime after 1 o'clock tomorrow. It's all in carts that can be wheeled down to your car that you can pull up out front. And as long as I get my carts back. So if you have time tomorrow to do that, let me know. Please. Okay, back to Cameron.
So Habitat for Humanity, you don't just also bill, if that's your thing, then that's your thing, but they also have like administrative things in their office, and they also have a restore where they have donated clothing items, and they help, so you can volunteer with different things. There's also the food bank that's been on the volunteer document for a while. You can also work in the office, and they also have a mobile pantry program where people have to deliver to their cars. It's kind of like a drive-through. And then again, the food pantry, where they have a lot of students, and they operate even during breaks. So if you're free and don't have class, you can volunteer there.
Thanksgiving baskets.
Yay! Me and Emily worked out the details. We got a set. We just got to confirm our church just to make sure it's the same one we've been using. So we're going to collect stuff between tomorrow and the 15th, hopefully to put 20 to 25 bags. So we have like just about that much of those purple bags left from like a million years ago. And so, but we will do the bag packing on the 16th. That's a Thursday at 4:30. So when this goes out, the link that's down there that you can barely see is the sign-up sheet to help with Thanksgiving baskets this year. And so suggested items, I would prefer if y'all stuck to this list so that I don't have to figure out how to use like really random items that are not Thanksgiving related. And so stuffing, gravy, mac and cheese, cranberry sauce, the canned vegetables, cornbread mix, French fried onions, cream of mushroom soup, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie crust. We try to do a dessert option. So pretty much we will collect stuff. If you'd rather just give SNDA money, that's totally fine. So for every 5 items, you get a point, or for every $5, you get a point. Whoever donates the most will get a surprise gift card. But essentially what we have to do every year is we have a Excel doc that we use that calculates everything for us, and we go to Walmart and buy what we need from what we're, from the money that we've collected. So if you just want to give us cash, that's totally fine. So next 2 weeks, this is what we'll be doing. There's our flyer. Yay!
Cute.
So just put stuff outside my office. No more human ecology, because that building's access bothers me, and I don't want to have to walk all the way over there to get stuff.
So this is the link to volunteer on where's the QR code, and the link is usually in the recap email with the volunteer form with all your hours. And I also once a month pick one of the newer opportunities on document, and I make posts for our Instagram, so you can check through that if you don't like keep checking the long document. But I recommend you check the document anyway if you're looking for something new. If you don't like what you've been doing, you want to switch. I update it monthly as well.
Also with the food pantry, with the food pantry,
Surprise!
sorry, with the food pantry, I remember I would always press on it like in previous years and they never had any spots open, but this year I actually pressed on it this weekend and they had like several spots open to volunteer.
The bank or the pantry?
The pantry on campus.
On campus,
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a different group of people running it now.
Yeah,
So-
there was a lot more. Also, it's way easier to sign up. I remember before, like, you had to email someone or fill out something, and they would never get back. And then now they have, like, they have this thing online where it's just, like, it's the same link, basically, as the St. Vincent de Paul, where it shows you, the
like a
sign-up
sign-up
genius. Yes. So it's way more convenient now.
All right, member of the month.
Sorry, Michael.
Yay, Michael! So Michael's been recruiting members because now we ask if people who helped you sign up or who told you about SNDA. So you did recruit a couple of members. I don't know who, but I don't remember who. But you donated. You've been coming to meetings, racking up some points. So you are our October member of the month. Yay. So I'll send you an email with your certificates, and I'll get you with Mary and Grace about the social media post. Anything else? Any chairs that have any updates that we forgot about? Or anyone have any news?
I emailed Patrick about the turnaround date, but he hasn't gotten back with me yet.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, pre-order shirts by next Wednesday. We will order extras, but that won't guarantee they sell out. So not to, if you're going to wait till January, you might not get one.
If you're not getting the meeting recap email, let me know. Someone told me that they're not getting it and they're on the email list, but if you're not getting it, let me know. It has some valuable information.
Anyone else?
At least I
Leading over.
know, I never did. I called them so